you have been very much the critic of the Danny Ainge draft and develop hoard picks theory on basketball. And like you, I do believe if Chris Middleton was healthy, Celtics don't get to the finals. I absolutely believe that to be true.
Of course. I mean, they were this close to losing in 6 to them without Chris Middleton. So, yeah, I think Chris Middleton's worth, a few points in a couple games. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's interesting. I tend to believe great teams represent their city. All great Detroit teams are bad boys, are tough guys. It's a blue-collar, hands-on automotive city. All LA teams have flash. USC was Reggie Bush and Leinart, the Rams. That's just the way football is.
Dodgers got 10 stars.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting about Boston. It's an academic hub. New England was always thought as the smartest team. They didn't like to do acquisitions. They do their own thing. The Red Sox, very early adapters to analytics.
Yep.
And I do think the Celtics, it just goes against, they tried it with Kyrie and it failed. It goes against their DNA to make splashy moves. And I think they're going to hold on to this group. And I think they're going to stay with this group. And I don't think they're going to win a championship with this group. I really believe that.
Listen, here's the thing. I want to be fair to them because they were 2 games away from winning the title. And this is what is so great about NBA history. So I'm doing, if I can do a plug for my podcast for a moment, then there'll be a reason for this. As you know, I'm doing a countdown of the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years. And one of the guys who I think gets a total short end of the stick because people act like the ABA stuff doesn't count is Dr. J. So I had Dr. J at number 11 on the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years. And he was number 10 literally a week and a half ago, but then Steph jumped him. With winning the title. So in 1981, Dr. J was up 3-1 on the Boston Celtics, right? They lose the final 3 games. Dr. J is sensational in the final 3. They lose those final 3 games by Game 5, 2 points, Game 6, 1 point, Game 7, 2 points. So they lose the final 3 games by a total of 5 points. The Celtics go on to win the title against not that great Rockets team. That was pretty akin. So this, when I say sliding doors moment, Dr. J is that close to having, 3 rings in the ABA, 2 MVPs in the ABA, and then also 2 more rings in the NBA. And more importantly, Larry Bird is that close to only having 2 titles. And what is like Larry Bird if he only has 2 titles? I don't know what he is. I know this. When people are trying to find someone to kick out of the top 10 to put Steph in, Larry Bird might be up on that list because he didn't play all that long. So right. We're literally talking about one made bucket by Tiny Archibald is like the difference. Okay. So here's why I say that. Looking forward, I agree with you. The Celtics could be in a really rough spot because Giannis is going nowhere. The Nets, I don't believe in them in their present iteration, but they'll never be have a year from as bad as this one. And Durant, right now, the Durant stock is actually a little too low. Like maybe at one point it was trading a touch too high, but now it is trading way too low. Kevin Durant is still one of the, at worst, 4 best players in the league. I know it became very trendy to be like, well, how can you argue Durant's better than Jayson Tatum when Tatum outplayed him for a week. Durant outplayed him for a decade. And I understand Durant's a lot older. With respect, Jayson Tatum, who I did put in Club Superstar and I give love to, Kevin Durant's better. Like, let's pump our brakes there. So I do think if you're the Celtics, you might look and say, God, dog it, man. Game 4, ahead in the fourth quarter, and we just can't track down Steph Curry. You go up 3-1. I know they did end up losing 3 straight games in the final. If they're up 3-1, they're winning the title. They would have won the title, and it was like 6 Steph Curry possessions, and it flipped the whole series. And that's, by the way, why Steph is one of the greatest. You know what I mean? The thing I said about Dr. J, Larry Bird, that is why Larry Bird's one of the greatest. I'm not taking anything away from these guys, but they are going to be hard pressed to find a better path because Horford was very important. He's getting old, right? I don't know that Marcus Smart's young, but I don't know if he'll have a better year than the one he just had. Go ahead.
Robert Williams has a knee that has been chronic. The Robert Williams
thing is concerning because he is awesome. Robert, one of the things I give Celtics fans credit on is they were early on Robert Williams and they believed in him in a way I didn't. You know, my son, who I do the podcast with, is a Celtics fan, and he has been talking about Robert Williams before the playoffs started. And I'm like, man, stop it. Because when Robert Williams got hurt, he was like, oh, that kills the Celtics. And I will give, I'll admit it if I missed it. I was like, dude, if you're that reliant on Robert Williams, you weren't winning the title anyway. But Robert Williams was excellent, but the knee concerns you. And so then with the Celtics, it does come down to this. Can Jayson Tatum get another step better? And that's the hardest step, man. The hardest step is not the hardest step is not getting from where, trying to think of the right example, even though they're very different players. The hardest step is not getting from where Donovan Mitchell is to where Paul George is, or from where Trae Young is to where Jayson Tatum is. The hardest step is getting from where Ja Morant and Jayson Tatum are and Devin Booker might be to where Durant and Giannis and LeBron and Steph. That's the hardest step. And if you're not that, you can win the title, but you just need everything else to fall right. You need everything else to break just perfectly for you. Because I would argue Kawhi Leonard was not that. Kawhi was not LeBron, Durant, those guys. So how did he win the title as the man? Everything broke perfectly. All the Warriors got hurt. They win in 6. You know what I mean? That's how it happened. Like, you can win the title that way, but it's really hard. Really hard.
Yeah. No, Jayson Tatum's a poor ball handler. And at this point in his career, you can get better at that. But the great advantage to LeBron and Steph, great ball handlers, Kobe Bryant was a really good ball handler, is that you can beat people off the dribble.
Durant,
and if you
too.
don't, and Durant.
Durant too. Yep,
you can beat people off the dribble. If you can't, you back it up and you go at him again. LeBron will back up. Steph will back up. Tatum
none of the
knows
Celtics
he's not.
can dribble.
That's
Jaylen
right.
Brown truly can't dribble. It's like shocking. Meanwhile, the Warriors got one dude who can't dribble, Clay. And so he's just like, I won't do it. Clay just is like, man, I'm going to shoot these shots. Like, kiss my ass. I'm going to shoot these shots. I'm not doing nothing else. It's unbelievable. None of the Celtics can handle the ball. None of them can dribble.
No.
They need to get the hot sauce from the N1 mixtape tour to do a camp.
When you're not an elite ball handler, once you try to break a guy down and you don't, you pick your dribble up. Tatum picks his dribble up. Brown picks his dribble up. Or you continue it, veer off in an odd way, and don't get a great shot. Jaylen Brown gets into some of those weird shots toward the basket. So until he improves his ball handling, he's just a wildly versatile, talented wing.
Here's the thing. A lot of guys struggle in their first finals. A lot of guys do. So I believe Jayson Tatum will be better for this experience. Now, I don't want to say who I talked to because I don't know if this is public or private, but one of the 20 greatest players ever called me after game 6 to talk about my NBA list. And I just said, kind of in passing, I was like, well, this could be good for Tatum. And what he said is, he goes, yeah. He's like, or it could break him. And I was like, oh. And he said, Nick, these games are on TV. Whole country's watching. Whole lot of pressure. And then you got to think about it all summer. He's like, I'm not saying it will. He goes, you're right that it might be what spurs him to take that next step. He is young and he has shown how good he can be. Or it can be something that emotionally takes him years to get over. But the other thing is, even if it's option A, he gets better because of it. he might not get a chance to redeem himself on the final stage, because I want to be very unequivocally clear about this. I think Giannis is a meteor. I think Giannis, I think it is what Giannis is going to do in the Eastern Conference is going to be similar to what LeBron did. Now, nobody's going to go to 8 straight like LeBron did, because nobody's LeBron. But could Giannis go to 5 of the next 7? Absolutely he could. There's no, I'm not saying win 5 of the next 7 rings. Maybe he could, but could Giannis be in 5 of the next 7 finals? Of course he could. So then if you're in the East, if you're Durant, if you're Embiid, if you're Tatum, if you're Trae Young, I know people, anyone in do you have 2 chances to make the finals in the next 2 presidential terms? Maybe. Like, that's a real possibility. So that's the other tough part for Boston. You got past Milwaukee this year. The year you get past Milwaukee, you got to cash it in. And they were real close.
Yep. And that's kind of my feeling on it. And it goes against their sort of DNA to make a big splashy acquisition. They did with Kyrie, and it just imploded.
It didn't work.
And
they did it. They did it with Gordon Hayward, and they got incredibly unlucky. Dude shatters his leg in his first game with the team. That's just bad luck. But I love saying this, and people laugh at me for it, but it is accurate. You have won 1 title since the fall of the Berlin Wall. The damn Raptors have won the same amount.
I know.
The Pistons have won 3. The teams we don't, the Miami Heat have won 3. The Rockets have won 2. The teams we don't consider, the Dallas Mavericks have won 1. Teams we don't consider like legendary franchises have done the same as you or more than you since, since I've gotten my measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines. Like, we're talking since I'm 37 years old. What's your earliest memory? When you're like 4? So in my cognitive life, the Boston Celtics, you know what? I got a better way to put it. In my lifetime, I was born in 1984, so I want to make sure I get this right. Yep. In my lifetime, the Boston Celtics have won as many world championships as the Kansas City Royals. That doesn't seem great.
It is.
They both won in 85, right? Yeah, I have this right. The Royals won in 85. The Celtics won in 85. The Celtics, oh no, damn it. I'm off by a year. Okay. Since I'm a year, the Celtics have won more because do I have this right? I think I have this right. Yeah, I do have it right. The Celtics won in 80, 82, and 85. And then, so the Celtics won in 85 and with KG. The Royals won in 85 and in 2015. In my lifetime, the Celtics and the Royals have the same number of championships. Holy shit. I just figured that out in real time. That makes me so happy. I can't wait to say that all the time to Boston fans. They're like, oh yeah, Titletown. You guys are great. Just like the Royals. Yeah. Another great franchise. Just historically amazing. Oh, that's delightful.
By the way, and people say it's hard to win your first finals. Let me tell you, it's even harder the second time you're there and you were seen as failures and getting tight. It's funny. Yeah. I said my proudest prediction of the finals, I said the Celtics, because they're so tight, have a chance to outplay the Warriors in 5 games and yet lose in 6. And there are arguments to be made.
That's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. Also, hold on. So I want to respond to that. I also want to fix what I said because I think you guys might put it on social. What I said is exactly right. I was born in 1984. The Celtics and the Royals have the same number of titles. The Celtics won their title in 86. So the Celtics won in 86 and with KG. The Royals won in 85 and in 2015. I don't want to get that wrong. Folks will be like, oh, Nick, 85. 85 was Lakers, 86 was Celtics. Now, to your point, and this is why I'm so angry with myself for flipping my pick. Because when I picked the Warriors, God dog it, I'm pissed that I did this. But I really thought, and it cost me money too because I bet it, but whatever. I went on television, and this was my analysis. I said, I'm picking Golden State for 2 reasons. The first reason is I believe Steph Curry might average 35 a game in these finals and finally have a start to finish brilliant finals. I'm a best player in the series guy. He is clearly the best player, so I like that. That was my first reasoning for picking the Warriors. My second reasoning was, I said, this was on the Monday morning after the Celtics Heat Game 7. I said on the air, I said 3 times this morning, I've gone back and watched the final 3.5 minutes of Game 7 for the Celtics against Miami. They are up 13 points with 3.5 minutes left against a team that is dead on offense. And they came within 2 inches of the most crushing choke job in NBA history, blowing a 13-point lead in 3.5 minutes against a team that has no offense, which is that close, however short Jimmy Butler's shot was. And I said, some of these finals games are going to be in the balance in the fourth quarter, and I do not trust Boston's execution. I nailed it. And then I changed my goddamn mind like an idiot. But that is what happened. They just didn't. And that is where, when people were bringing up finals experience, that is where it matters. It absolutely matters that for the Golden State Warriors, aside from Wiggins and Poole, none of their key guys played in a game in these finals that was the biggest game of their life. For the Celtics, every single player on the roster, each game was the biggest game of their life, including their veteran, Al Horford, because he's never been to the finals. So and for the rookie head coach, every single guy there, each game was the biggest game of their life. For the Warriors, for Wiggins and Poole, they were the biggest games of their life. For nobody else, fucking Kevon Looney has 3 rings. Put some respect on his name.